Thank you. Thank you for the generous introduction. Thank you for the warm welcome. I want to just speak briefly on a few topics related to Veterans Day. First, I want to talk about the meaning of Veterans Day and why do we commemorate it. Some of you know, I'm sure, some of those who are not quite as up to speed on your history lessons as your teachers wish you were, know that this day started as Armistice Day, the end of World War I, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, marked the end of the fighting, what was then known as the Great War. And for the first several years, it was celebrated as the end of that Great War, that some people said was the war to end wars. And then in the 1920s, the roaring 20s, there was a sense of elation, a sense of a new time that war had been put behind us. In fact, some of those who have been studying your history as much as your history teachers would like know that there was something called the Kellogg-Briand Pact in the 1920s, a treaty to outlaw war. Well, we all know that didn't quite work out. There's a reason it didn't work out. As much as we might want to avoid war, as much as war might be awful, as much a strain as it can put on a country and people in many different ways, as much as probably veterans more than anyone want to make peace and not war, as long as human nature remains the same, there will be conflict between people and between nations. That's just a fact. It's a fact today in our world. You look at places like Afghanistan, where we still have tens of thousands of troops fighting. Other countries throughout the Middle East, where Al-Qaeda is trying to gain a foothold so it can launch attacks not just locally, but against the United States as well. You look across history all the way back to biblical times. That means that as long as there can be war, a country needs warriors to defend it. So I'd contrast Veterans Day to a couple other holidays we celebrate. A few months ago in the summer, when you weren't in school, we all celebrated the 4th of July. On the 4th of July, we celebrate the principles on which our country was founded. That we're all created equal before the eyes of God, that we all have certain inalienable rights, that among those are the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that governments are instituted to protect those rights with the consent of the government. A couple weeks, you're all going to be with your families celebrating Thanksgiving. And we're going to give thanks for the many blessings that God has given us. Those are many blessings that are personal to each of us, for our families, for our friends, the fact that we have food on the table. They're also blessings that we've been given by God to live in this country, where we do enjoy those rights, where we have a government that is elected by the people, to serve the people, that we don't live in a country where there's a tyrant that controls all the people. Today, we celebrate the veterans who ensure that that government can remain, and who ensure that we can enjoy those blessings. Because without our veterans, today the ones serving in Afghanistan and other places, who served in Iraq in the last decade, in Vietnam, in Korea, throughout the world in World War II and World War I, going all the way back to the Revolutionary War period, we would have none of those things. Freedom is not free. It takes men and women to sacrifice, and sometimes make the ultimate sacrifice. Each generation needs its warriors to step forward to ensure that we can live in freedom. And the surest way to have those warriors step forward is to honor the service and commemorate the sacrifice of those who went before. So each generation knows that their fellow countrymen will honor their service and honor their sacrifice. That's what we're celebrating today on Veterans Day, is those warriors from each generation that have kept this country free and blessed. Second thing I want to say is thank you to all of you. Thank you as a veteran myself for the honor you pay to our service and sacrifice. Thank you for your support while I was in Iraq or Afghanistan. Just like some of the men and women in this room may thank you for your support when they were in the first Gulf War, or Vietnam, or Korea, or I know we have at least one World War II veteran here. Your material support. The American people are extremely generous. Your tax dollars go to support our military. to ensure that it's the best equipped, finest armed, and best trained military in the world. Your moral support, from both Russellville, my hometown of Dardanelle, I frequently receive care packages, thank you cards, Christmas packages, not just for me, but for my soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. And your spiritual support, maybe the most important of all. Your prayers, individually and in your churches, asking God to watch over our troops who are downrange, to keep us safe, and to ensure that we accomplish our mission and come back to our families. And third, and this is specifically for the students here in the audience, I just want to encourage you to think about becoming a veteran yourself one day. I know your parents may not be happy that I'm saying that. Just like my father said that he felt like God was punishing him for what he had done to his father in 1968 when I told him I wanted to join the Army in a time of war. But as you've seen over the weekend, as you see today, there are a few things that you can do in your life that will be more meaningful, in which you can take more pride, in which you'll have more satisfaction than defending your country. All of the veterans here look back on their time, even the toughest times they had on the front lines, in firefights. Maybe they were wounded, maybe a buddy was wounded, maybe someone was killed in action. And they think those are some of the best days of their lives. So invariably, veterans look back with fondness and affection for those days. Just like this weekend, a friend of mine sent me pictures of us from Ranger School. I remember the day, because it was raining and we were miserable, and it was 38 degrees out, and we hadn't eaten all day long. He asked me what I thought, and I said, I thought we looked miserable, but I look back with incredible fondness and warmth from those days, just like he said he did. So I know you all probably have a lot of plans for your life. But if your plans don't include military service, at least not yet, I would encourage you to at least be open to it, to consider it. There are lots of different options: enlisting in active duty, going to the Guard or the Reserve, maybe getting a commission to do RTC or an academy or officer candidate school. And maybe in the end you'll serve your community in a different way. But it is a decision, I can assure you, will make you better. Thank you for letting me come speak to you today. Thank you for what you're doing to honor our veterans. God bless you, and God bless our great country.